nude scenes.
I never know what's going to come out of this guy's mouth before we start recording.
Tasteful nudes of Thibodeau. I think that would be what would sell the show.
And now we have to check the mark that. Now we have to check the box that we are not kid appropriate for.
Oh,
YouTube.
there's nothing wrong with the male form.
A little bit to start it a little late.
Well, what a way to start the show there. Jeremy is apparently given up on the season after he lost yet again.
I'm done.
Jeremy, how many wins do the Red Wolves have?
They have 3. We're 3-3.
Okay, good enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good enough.
Jeremy, let us 5-1 teams speak, won't you?
Oh, God. I'm going to have to endure this. Okay, you know what? I'm going to endure it because you guys deserve it. All right, especially you, Tibbs. Being a fan of such a downtrodden team that has never tasted the fruit of victory until now. So congratulations, Tibbs. I'm happy for you.
Best start in ULM history since 1987 when we won a national title. Just throwing that out there.
Uh-huh.
There was an early CFP bracket out there where the Warhawks were the representative as the 12 seed.
Oh, God, that would be wild.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of what that would be like.
Are you ready for that match in Austin?
For the rematch in Austin? You know what? At the time, sure, why not? I'll put it to you this way: playing NCAA football, yes, I know video game. I never won a national title with ULM because we would run the tables of the Sun Belt and our non-conference slate, get to the CFP, and our guys are like, "Hey, we made it. We're done, coach." No, we have more games to play, kid. Nah, we're good. We're done.
Huh.
Literally lost 60-something to 3 against Notre Dame one year. I was done. I said, "Screw you guys. I'm out of here."
Yeah. You know what? I posted a graphic indicating that it was now time to be legitimately scared of the Warhawks. And you know who kind of got into my stream a little bit? Auburn fans. They're like, "Oh, well, we're next. It's game over now." Like, what? Why are Auburn fans giving me shit?
We have been a couple weeks.
I know, but they must feel a little twinge of something. If they feel like with a game coming in a couple weeks, they have to respond to my assertion that it's time to be a little afraid of the Warhawks. You're getting into
they have quarterbacks that as long as you're open, whether you're on that team or not, that he's going to get it to you. And he's damn good at it.
Okay. Let's talk about this week, Tibbs. Let's get some format into this show.
Nah, I'm good.
Let's talk about some individual games. Let's talk about college basketball even. There's so much we can talk about.
No, I'd rather talk football. Thank you, though, Jeremy.
All right. I mean, we can make this a basketball show.
We could, but let's bask on 5-1 teams.
All right.
We're not going to say that this is paving the way for another Warhawks team to completely overachieve and go from worst to first.
No. Yeah, Warhawks picked. Was it next to last by the coaches in the basketball poll?
I thought it was.
No, they were DFL on the men's side and 4th on the women. Arkansas State women next to last.
Yeah, that's probably where they'll finish too.
And I definitely agree that I think Arkansas State on the men's side has the hype coming in.
Lots of hype.
They have the roster, they have the talent, but how many times have we seen a uber talented team not be able to do a damn thing once conference play starts?
Man, you've seen it a million times. It could very well happen here, except I really do feel like Coach Brian Hodgson has put together a very talented team. I don't see it imploding, but you never know. I mean, I feel like the Sun Belt. just has a lot of great teams. I mean, even if you look at the bottom half of the poll, there's some teams there that are kind of scary. Georgia State had a great transfer and recruiting year. I wouldn't be surprised if they were a lot tougher than you thought. Guys, did you see that the tragedy here that Hosanna Kentenge out for the season after being named on the first team for the Louisiana Raging Cajuns? Did you see that?
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, especially when you consider, we'll let you rub it in a little bit, Jeremy. Like Kobe Julian leaves, goes to Arkansas State. They basically lost two of the top 5 players in the conference, like between the end of last year and this year that they could have had back. That's rough for Bobby Marlin.
Yeah, and Kentenge he'll be back next year. But man, he is a force to be reckoned with. And if that was the last guy that the Cajuns really had, I'm sure they have some other guys. That's just too bad for the season for them. But Shane, what'd you think of the list? What did you think of the rankings?
I don't think there was anything too surprising in it. I mean, I think we probably all had Arkansas State 1, JMU 2, right? Going into this one. I think the continuity that Arkansas State has probably separates them from everybody else. Like, in addition to adding Julian, like we just mentioned, you just don't see it that often that a team that finished that strong brings that many guys back that were key contributors last year. So, yeah, I mean, nothing too surprising for me, in at least on the men's side.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little surprised. I'm surprised with the hype on Troy. I know they had a pretty good season last year, but they really kind of pooped out at the end of the year. I'm not sure what they brought back or what they brought in that has given so much confidence in Troy. But, I just don't know what that is.
I think it's similar to Arkansas State. They're not the same talent level, but they have some continuity. They bring guys back. They have the Rigby brothers. Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to look like a similar team that we saw last year from Troy.
Right. Yeah, and if you remember when we had Jason Jones of the Troy Collective on, he talked about how they were able to maintain that roster, that they didn't have anybody leave. So even though they might not necessarily have gotten better through adding pieces, they didn't lose anything. And they have that extra year of togetherness as they get ready to go into the Sun Belt.
And they had that most important ingredient, and that's Scott Cross, who we all love on this show.
Yes.
How about you?
On the women's side, Jeremy? I know you don't want to talk about women's basketball.
I don't want to talk about the women. Yeah.
But they do have several Russians again at James Madison.
They just get stronger. It's like they have an atomic facility that keeps producing giant Russian women.
You know what? They have one Russian, but they added a Slovakian.
Oh, okay.
So
the Eastern Bloc of Europe continues to be strong for JMU. Do you have the height again this year?
Yeah. I think, JMU, they were picked first. They got, I think, 12 of the first place votes. I think that was probably made sense based on what they're bringing back. I think they should be pretty heavy favorites on the women's side. I think it's going to be really competitive on the men's side, but yeah, I do think maybe there's one or two teams that will separate themselves a little bit on the women's side of things.
Is one of those teams the Warhawks?
Not at all. I think that they will still be good. I think they'll be in the upper half of the league. Yeah. But I think what we saw last year was really one shining moment where there were so many transfers that Missy Bilderback was able to bring in, having those relationships. Still did pretty good bringing in some players, but definitely not the maturity and the seasoned players that we saw last year. So down here just a little bit. Are they sinking down to Arkansas State level? Not at all. But they will still not finish the league in the fourth position. I would put them in the middle of the pack, 6-7, as we get ready to head to Pensacola.
Your digs at Arkansas State are fair. So I'll let them all slide.
I mean, Jeremy, you were a finalist for the head coaching job.
I could do it. I feel like I could get the same results.
I thought that was tennis.
Tennis? Same thing.
By the way, I don't mean to frighten you guys, but A-State tennis has been doing really well and is going to have a great year this year. Mark my words.
So they're not regretting not hiring you then.
They seem to be pleased with the choice they made. Yes.
Shifting back to football this past weekend.
Yeah.
Guys, any surprises out of the games that we saw? And I will kick it off there. We always talk about how weird they are, but the fact that Old Dominion went to Atlanta, they tried to give it away with the last-second touchdown.
Yeah.
But they were weird enough to win. And I think that was absolutely huge. It was great to see the huge smile on the sidelines from Ricky Ronnie. Just a tremendous, tremendous game for the Monarchs as they were able to get that win there in Atlanta against Georgia State. My box score is not loading so that I can tell you some stats out of the game.
Well, what was interesting about the game was that Georgia State they bring in they start with
Gibson.
They bring in Zach Gibson, who I thought was going to be the starter at the beginning of the year. I said so in an article with Zach Gibson. Somebody said, it's not going to be Zach Gibson. It's going to be this Charles Vallue. I can never say his name right. But Gibson comes in, and it's like instant offense. I think he throws an interception at the end that sort of sealed the deal. But there seems to be a lot of excitement around this kid. So, I don't know. Maybe kind of like in the way that the Herd started using other quarterbacks to find some offense. Maybe the Panthers are doing the same thing.
Well, ODU has too. I mean, Colton Joseph's looking pretty good for a freshman out there, actual dual threat. And I have ODU kind of as one of the top better than their record teams. Like not just in the Sun Belt, maybe around the country. Like
I think we all agree with that because ODU, when they lose, it's always by single digits.
Yeah.
And it's usually because they didn't have enough offense
at this point.
Yeah, Colton Joseph able to rush for just about 100 yards, threw for 141 and a TD in that game. Let's get weird. Let's just keep that one rolling. That's for sure.
Yeah, ODU decided to make it weird, but like they still got the win. So
I know it was strange at the end. Speaking of strange at the end, though, Tibbs, what about that Marshall Georgia Southern game?
I was pissed because I had a great weekend from our sponsor, Bet Online, winning game after game after game, and I was like, cha-ching. The Herd took them on the money line. Saw the ESPN 99.9% chance of winning this game.
You were already counting that money.
and then there was like a roller coaster effect where they went right over the top and down they went.
Yeah, I did the opposite. I had Bet Online money on the Eagles and I thought, well, there's money I've lost. And lo and behold, you put in Dexter Williams II, and he's instant offense. I think it counted for 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, right?
Tibbs can verify that he asked for our FunBelt 5 rankings every Saturday, like in the evening, and I waited until I thought that game was completely in hand for Marshall in the fourth quarter, and I sent it him with Marshall moving into my top 5, and then I had to correct myself later in the evening because that was
never underestimate the toxicity of beautiful Eagle Creek, Shane. That's what you did.
I guess
you underestimated the powers, and both of you. Tibbs paid financially. You paid on your reputation, but you shouldn't ever go against the Eagles in Statesboro.
So let me ask you this, though, Jeremy, Shane.
Sure.
Marshall with the 2 quarterback system going with Stone Early and Braylon Braxton.
Yeah.
Is this a classic example of if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I was surprised how quickly they went back to Stone Earl after we were raving about Braylon Braxton the week before. I thought they'd found their guy. I mean, he's not going to necessarily beat you just with his arm, but like kind of looks like a fullback back there too. Like I thought they found their man, and then like to kind of go back and forth. I was surprised, and it does make me think they don't really have confidence in either guy right now.
Do you think it's a matter of they've paid Stone Earl a bunch of NIL money and they don't want to lose that investment?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
That would be a really Ole Miss thing to have happen. Maybe not a big Marshall thing.
Because you know who doesn't want to lose his money is Charlie Huff.
No. He will pay you in biscuits from that biscuit place.
Yeah.
Tutors.
That's right. Tutors. Oh, yes. Yes, that's right. So ULM, by the way, Tibbs made a big deal. Oh, look out for Southern Miss. Oh, my God. The Warhawks have a challenge with the Golden Eagles. Wasn't much of a challenge, was it, Tibbs?
There was a little pucker effect when they when I forget if it was second, third down, bad snap, Aiden Armenta fumbles.
Yeah.
And that was right in front of me. And I just see the ball bouncing off Southern Miss and ULM players. And it's like nobody wants to jump on it. And I was tempted just to start diving myself, trying to get it.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is how it ends, Jeremy. This is how it ends. They drive down, they get a field goal. It's 3-0. ULM's offense just kind of sputters and sputters and sputters until it finally just starts clicking. They're able to get some scores. They're up 17-7 and going for a field goal. We're like, this is going to put it at 20. Game's out of hand. Great. Blocked field goal, returned for a touchdown.
Holy shit.
And once again, you heard everyone puckering up at that point when it's 17-14 because they also went for 2 and got the 2-point conversion. But somehow just really able to kind of sit back, relax, weather the storm. Defense did its thing. Ahmad Hardy once again rushing. I think he's in the top 3 now, Sunbelt Conference for rushing.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how to break down why this Warhawks team is winning, but they are.
You know what's funny is if Southern Miss had somehow won the game, Shane and I today would be saying, well, Warhawks are going to Warhawk. It was a nice ride while it lasted. But quite frankly, I don't know if we're ever going to get to say that, Shane. What is happening in Monroe?
They're winning. And, to me, Southern Miss, it's getting too late for moral victories for Southern Miss at this point. Yeah. But I was maybe pleasantly surprised how competitive they were in that game. And like, Tibbs said, it was close, fairly late. They had some opportunities. And, looks like maybe they found something at quarterback, not an all-star. But
no.
Ethan Crawford. I was going to call him something else. But Ethan Crawford, it seems like they found maybe somebody serviceable at quarterback against a good ULM defense. So it might be too late for Will Hall. It might be too late for Southern Miss to turn this around. But I think they can at least take something out of that game.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Ethan Crawford that good? I think he completed, 9 passes, Tibbs, in that game? I think he was something like 9 for 24 or something crazy. I don't know.
He didn't do anything that really stood out like, oh, my God, I can't believe this guy. He was 9 of 26 for 165 and a interception.
He did something beat, too, which I think helps. Like, I mean, I don't think they're going to magically find somebody who can throw the ball that great at this point. But, they found somebody who moved it down the field a little bit.
That's true. I mean, it's between him and Tate Roadmaker, and we know that Tate Roadmaker is not going to be the guy at Southern Miss. It just doesn't have. He's kind of like the General Booty of Southern Miss. It just seemed like with his pedigree with the Power 4, he's just going to come in and do some good stuff, and it just didn't happen. But yeah, hats off to not just the Warhawks, but really to Bryant Vincent, already getting kind of Coach of the Year buzz from certain places, Tibbs. I think you might have forwarded a little bit of that on the social medias, and well deserved. I mean, you take a program that has been in a decades long slump, and not, I wouldn't say the laughing stock of college football. I would say, I think a lot of people respect ULM for doing as much as they can with what they have. It's not like UAB, who's gone ahead and just totally dropped the ball. ULM is a program that works its ass off. It's a blue collar program that is underfunded, under resourced, and here it is, just taking the Sun Belt by storm. So even though I'm frightened of the Warhawks, Tibbs, I'm scared to death of these guys, and I consider them an enemy of my Red Wolves. But by golly, I respect you.
Jeremy, I still got to talk with you about getting to Little Rock so that we can go check out this game together.
Oh, yeah. Sure, I'm scared to death about it. But that's all right.
What, of us doing a live show?
No, I'm seeing the Warhawks.
Oh, okay. One final thing on this.
Not you.
One final thing on this ULM thing. I hate the national media when it comes to getting hit up. I send them great videos of the players getting off the bus. It's well shot. There's Aiden Armenta, the starting quarterback for ULM. And I get a text back, hey, can you get Booty warming up? And I was like, why? He hasn't been playing and we're winning without him. Well, it'll do better for social media.
Oh, my God. I tell you, though, you guys, that's the reason why you got Booty. You wanted him for the national exposure. General Booty. It wasn't for his skill set. Definitely it wasn't for his pocket presence. It was for the name. And it worked. You got that national acclaim. You were able to make that smooth transition to a quarterback that could actually lead the team down the field. And now you're 5-1. So what if you have to get a little indignity from the national media?
I'm just not a fan of Aiden Armenta's stash. But hey, if it's winning, it's winning.
Winning is winning, and that's true. Speaking of winning, James Madison kind of made a mockery of Coastal Carolina. I have to admit, I thought Coastal Carolina was going to put on a better show. They did not. Didn't have it in them. And here's the thing, Coastal Carolina, they get a pretty tough game next week. This week, I guess. We'll talk a little bit more about that. They're not known for bouncing back after adversity. I don't know if they can bounce back after such a thumping, Shane.
I don't know if I'd go that far, say they can't bounce back, but
come on.
It was a thumping. I think one of you guys texted me to ask if it was as bad as the score. I'd say so. Just a defensive performance from JMU, which I thought Coastal. I'd been so impressed with Coastal's offense.
Yeah.
Up to that point, that I didn't think JMU was going to completely shut them down the way they did. And at this point, feeling like JMU's defense is pretty legit. The offense is kind of hit or miss at times, but I think their defense is going to keep them in every game the rest of the way.
Yeah, so it was a great comeback, bounce back for James Madison, especially a team that's looking to cement, that top position. You get the They get the Eagles this week. That's going to be another great game, another sort of Coastal-like game where it's two contenders for the East. And JMU has a chance here of sort of just butt blocking both those guys, right? Just sort of hip checking them right into the stands, getting rid of Coastal first and then getting rid of the Eagles. That's a pretty nice setup for them, Shane Metlin.
Yeah, I don't know how far ahead we're getting of ourselves here, but if they win those two games in a row, it does give put JMU in the driver's seat to win the East.
Yeah,
long way to go, but
yeah, well, we're halfway through the season. It's getting close to the time where we have to start thinking about this, right, Tibbs? I mean, Tibbs, I'm sure that you're thinking with your Warhawks, who am I going to see out of the East to challenge our supremacy, right?
How crazy would it be if James Madison has to return to ULM for a conference title?
See, look at these sugar-coated dreams that are appearing in Tibbs' head. Isn't it nice, Tibbs?
Yeah. That game's going to hurt, though.
Yeah. Speaking
Anyway.
of dope, okay.
Speaking of dopamine games,
yeah, sure.
the Cajuns continue their hot ways. Ben Woolridge, right at 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Zylan Perry, 53 yards. But Joey Aguilar, 236, 3 touchdowns, and just like the Auburn quarterback, 4 interceptions in the game as the Mountaineers fell by 10 points to the Cajuns.
I think Coach Sean Clark said it best in the presser today. You can't win a game when you have 4 turnovers. You just can't. Now Arkansas State once beat Georgia Southern after committing 5 turnovers. It can be done, but strictly it shouldn't be done. And I don't know what is going on with Joey Aguilar. I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know if there's some sort of slump going on with the wide receivers. They're not just connecting. Who knows what's going on? We know that the hurricane damage has affected everybody's minds right now. But, man, the Mountaineers are just not the same Mountaineers, Shane Metlin. Why?
You got to kind of wonder if, Aguilar is in a position where is he pressing a little bit? Like, obviously they've been through a lot. They suffered a lot of losses that were unexpected. Like, do you go into a game like Louisiana thinking like, okay, I'm the player of the year. I've got to earn it right now. I've got to take us to victory. And maybe you try to play hero a little too much and then mistakes catch up with you. I don't know for sure, but it's not all the other things aside. It's just not been the machine that we expected App State's offense to be.
Tibbs, which fans are more despondent right now, Troy or the Mountaineers?
Man, that's a tough call. I would say Mountaineers because, coming into this year, they had the title. They had already started etching in App State on the actual hardware itself. They're on, a 3-game losing streak right now.
Bottom of
they
the
have Georgia State next week. I got to make that early pick that the Panthers might be the ones that are going up to Boone and getting the upset there. The way that we've seen the Mountaineers play these past few weeks, I think on paper, Mountaineers run away with that game hands down, but that's next week's problem. But for right now, I think the App State fans are a little distraught and beside themselves.
Yeah, you would think that nobody could have used a bye week more than the Mountaineers right now. They're going to enjoy this bye week. Not enjoy it. I'm sure Sean Clark is going to make them work. But, man, they probably are breathing a sigh of relief that they're not getting on the gridiron this week.
And now,
yeah,
Jeremy, you get to inject some commercials before we get ready for second and short.
What? We don't want to talk about A-State and Texas State?
No.
You guys just ran right through that. Was that a mercy ignoring?
There's a reason Jordan McLeod was player of the week, Jeremy.
Yeah.
When the man wins the award, and we know it's just hands down. Sure, we'll talk about the game. What part would you like to talk about there, Jeremy?
Well, first of all, I'm going to bitch a little bit about the Texas State. I'm going to bitch about the Texas State broadcast crew. Guys, Texas State, bruz, you have been in this league, in the Sun Belt now, for like 12, 13 years. You've been here a while. You need to know the teams in your conference. And they had one announcer there. It wasn't the Freeman, or is Brent Freeman? Brent Freeman? We know him, right?
Yeah, he's been on the show several times.
He's a good guy. It wasn't him. It was his partner. Kept calling Arkansas State the Red Hawks the entire broadcast. And Brent would be like, Arkansas State Red Wolves. And the guy goes, oh, yeah. But the whole broadcast called us the Red Hawks. And at first I was mad. But then at the end I was like, you know what? Maybe we deserve to be the Red Hawks. Because the Red Wolves did not play well in that game. Finished with 3 field goals, all in the first half. Didn't show up at all in the second half. Jordan McLeod, You know what? The stat sheet says he missed a few passes. I never saw him miss a pass. I swear he connected every time I saw him throw. The guy was a wizard out there. Hats off to Texas State. Boobcats no more, at least in my book. You beat the Red Wolves soundly. You look unstoppable. I don't know where this offense was when you could have closed out the Bearcats, when you could have closed out Arizona State. But that's water under the bridge. Texas State and the Warhawks is going to be one hell of a game when it comes championship time, Tibbs.
I was so proud that Jordan McLeod was able to go 24 of 29, 320, 4 touchdowns, and rushed for another one. It's his 5th game with 3 or more passing touchdowns in the season, and his 4th game with 4 or more touchdowns accounted for, and propelled the Bobcats to 591 yards of total offense over the Red Hawks.
I am just so happy that the Red Wolves could contribute to the resume of one Jordan McLeod. That's great. Perfect. Fantastic.
Shane, what are your thoughts on the Red Hawks?
I was disappointed in the Red Devils defense in this one. I feel like Jordan McLeod is a very good quarterback, but you gotta make him look a little worse than that. Like Jeremy said, you don't even remember him throwing any incompletions.
I don't remember one incompletion. Don't remember a single one.
Are you implying that they made up stats for
I
him?
think so, just to make him look less godlike. I was like, does he ever miss a pass? Or is our coverage that bad? And it might be A-State coverage. The A-State was not prepared for that game. They lost miserably. We'll talk a little bit more about the future of A-State when we get into second and short. Oh, there's the gong. But, not a great game for Butch Jones and Arkansas State.
Speaking of the gong, you realize in our last second short episode,
Mm-hmm.
you did not hit the gong once.
What?
I thought every time any of us said second short, there was a gong.
Yeah.
There was no gong one time.
Did the gong miss? Wow.
Yes.
All right. Well, sometimes, when you edit these things, you miss. So, you got to blame me. I'm the man holding the gong. So I missed. Sorry. I'll go back. Should I go back? Should we go back and re-record it?
No.
Okay. Correct the record. Are you guys ready for second and short?
Don't.
Shane, you can't dong. You can't mouth a dong and make it work. All right. What you just did was blasphemy. You're going into some sort of dong hell for that. All right. You know what? We're gonna just move past that and start with week 8 of second and short. You guys know how it works. We run down the games. We try to keep it at about 2 minutes. That's why it's called second and short. And we get this done fairly quick because there's only 6 games. And Tibbs, who's off this week?
Warhawks are off.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that
Go on. We just talked about it.
Hell, I don't know.
The Mountaineers. The Mountaineers are off.
So, good. Good for them.
Because they can
As
get
long
that
as-
time. Yeah.
As long as the Red Hawks are playing, we're all happy.
The Red Pandas are on the field this week. All right, let's get this second and short started. It starts tomorrow, guys. Tuesday, October 15th. The first Tuesday game of the year for the FunBelt, and it's a battle for the belt. Trojans 1-5. Oh God, it's crazy to even say that. Visiting the South Alabama Jaguars, they're 2-4. 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on ESPN2. The Jags are a 12.5 point favorite. Tibbs, is this game worth watching and why?
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. Get a little scout in on the Jaguars since that's the next game up for the Warhawks.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Also want to savor every moment that the Sunbelt Conference has Gio Lopez, the left-handed freak. I think it's Jags all day, all the time. Troy's just on the struggle bus right now, and this is not the right game for them to correct things.
Both teams not doing well. But none of that matters on Tuesday because only the belt size matters. It's the battle of the belt, man, between these two furious foes. Metlin, are you watching this game?
Yeah, I'll tune in. I mean,
Okay.
you got the Conference USA time slot though, so maybe appropriate that the teams with kind of Conference USA records are the ones playing in this one. So.
Classic Shane belittlement. I love that. You know what? I think the Jaguars go full Achilles on Troy. Too much Gio Lopez. Too much fluff both well. Trojans get destroyed. I think that's the logical outcome. But, Sunbelt entropy always surprises. So Thursday, October 17th, we get a little Thursday action, guys. This time we head out east. Georgia State Panthers, they're 2-3 versus the Marshall Thundering Herd. They're 3-3 at 6 p.m. ESPN2. The Herd at 9.5 point favorite from Bet Online odds. The Panthers, conquerors of the Commodores, are playing pretty decent football under Del McGee, Shane Metlin.
Yeah. Was there a question there?
That was your.
It sounded like a statement.
I turned it into like a segue for you, Shane. That's when you're both like, oh, indeed so. But okay, go ahead, Shane. Let's tell me why this game is so essential for the Sun Belt East.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia State kind of needs this one after not completing the comeback against ODU, but on the flip side, Marshall cannot afford another letdown after last week, especially coming home. Like we mentioned earlier, though, do they have a quarterback, or is this a situation where they don't trust either guy? I kind of just like Georgia State building a little momentum, even on a loss, where it's like the exact opposite. They both kind of lost at the last minute.
Yeah,
but the vibes surrounding each situation feel completely different to me.
Yeah, it seems like the Panthers kind of like what they saw of Zach Gibson. Del McGee early in the week is saying, I don't know who I'm going to start, and maybe he doesn't. But it'll be interesting to see. Also, do we see Stone early? Is it early or Earl? Well, we'll go Stone early, or do we see Braylon Braxton? Tibbs, there is a lot of quarterback intrigue for being so late in the season.
There is, but I still feel that Marshall is going to use last week as really a motivator. Huff said it today to Luke Creasy, even talking about how disappointed he was and how they need to coach better as well as have better preparation. They're not going to lose a 99.9% game again, and they're definitely going to make sure that even though they're playing Georgia State, that they prepare as if they're playing Georgia Southern for a little revenge factor in this game.
Oh, wow. Just victim by name recognition. I love it. Yeah, I think the Herd is going to out-thunder the Panthers. I do think, though, that Del McGee, not as successful, of course, as Brian Vincent right now, but is doing a Brian Vincent-like job of getting that Panthers team prepared and ready, even if that team isn't quite ready to compete for a title. Maybe not anytime soon, but they are certainly in position to create trouble. All right, here we get to the Saturday games, the real day of the college football, right? It's not Tuesday, it's not Thursday, it's Saturday. College football is played on Saturday. And on Saturday, the first game of the Sun Belt slate is at 11 a.m. It's on ESPNU. If you got the U, you got to watch it. The Raging Cajuns, they're 5-1. Go to the Teal Monster. Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, they're 4-2. Man, the Chanticleers, they get that beat down from James Madison. I'm telling you, I don't ever feel confident in the Chanticleers after they come back from a beat down. Shane, do you think that the Chanticleers have anything left, some motivation to get over the Cajuns, who are clearly just playing solid professional football right now?
Yeah, I think they do. I think we'll see a better Ethan Vasco performance this time around. He just he was bottled up. He was frustrated. at JMU. I think he'll be able to do a little bit more of what we saw from him early in the season. I'm still probably leaning towards a Cajuns victory, but I think we'll see a more competitive version of Coastal Carolina at home, especially we'll talk about this more later, but that travel going, cross division seems to always cause the teams some issues.
Yeah, it's a long way. I think 3.5 for the Cajuns, the bet online odds of the game. I think that's about right because it's going to be a pretty close game. Thibodeau, the Cajuns got 100 yards and a TD from a tight end week, Terrence Carter. Are the Cajuns a more complete team than maybe any team in the Sun Belt, and that might include James Madison?
I think that they definitely have a lot of the right parts in place, but I think one of the bigger motivators for this week's game, this is finally the COVID Carolina game from 2020 for the Sun Belt Conference Championship game that never happened.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Coastal Carolina got sick. I think the Cajuns kind of vent on them. And I think that win last week against App State really was kind of a motivational and confidence builder for them. I think they're able to go and slug out a good win on the road over Ethan Vasco. I do think Vasco kind of rebounds with his performance, but I still like Ben Woolridge to get the win.
Ben Woolridge is 1,000 years old. I don't know if you know that, but he's 1,000 years old and still playing really good football. He has all that wisdom. Vasco has all the talent, all that youth. But I think just the savviness of Woolridge brings that game home. Too much seasoning for Coastal to handle. Next game doesn't happen until 2:30, guys. Texas State Bobcats, 4-2. They take on the weird Old Dominion Monarchs. They're 2-4, but a deceptive 2-0, according to Shane Metlin. It's on ESPN Plus, our favorite channel. The Cats are a 10-point favorite, which, it might seem kind of low, except the distance between San Marcos and Norfolk is great, my friends, and maybe that plays a little bit of a factor, Shane.
I think so. We've seen a lot of teams from the West go struggle in Norfolk, and it's a long way. I mean, you guys have probably seen all the stats about the Big Ten this year, where like the teams that are going from 2 time zones away or like have a terrible record on the road. It's not quite 2 time zones for Texas State, but it's a long trip like for this one. And I do think ODU's got a little more firepower, like we said before, better than the record. And I think this could be a little bit of a tricky one for Texas State, even though I like what they've shown here in the last couple of weeks.
And let's bear in mind, Texas State has not gone on the road much this year. They had the neutral game in Houston. I guess they went to Southern Miss, Hattiesburg, which isn't that far away. This is a real road game from them, and this is halfway through the season. And they finally getting to going on a real road game. Tibbs, is that going to matter?
Most definitely will. I think Old Dominion got a good confidence boost last week in that win. They were able to also battle it out and hold on to that game late. That's big. It's winning is contagious, and sometimes the only way to win is to win. And I think that's going to give them a good bump. It's going to give them the confidence. I do think Jordan McLeod can be contained by the Monarch defense, but you just got to hope that running attack with Maldy, Pear, and the stable of running backs they have can't step up their game, and that they really kind of force Texas State to be one-dimensional. I still like Old Dominion in this game, though.
Yeah, I like Colton Joseph, the freshman quarterback for the Monarchs. Just gives them a spark. The Monarchs, what they really needed was some offense. Colton Joseph isn't going to throw for 400 yards or run for 150 and give you 4 touchdowns, but he can move that offense, and that's what they really needed. Does this smell like a upset? Yes, it does. I think ODU might have a surprise for the Bobs. Next game. Hey, this one's a big one. Last week was a big one for James Madison. They come in at 5-1. This week is almost the same type of vibe when they played Georgia Southern Eagles. It's 4-2. This time, The Dukes have to go to the away turf, the opponent's turf. This happens to be in Statesboro, where the toxicity of beautiful Eagle Creek does play a role. It starts at 3 p.m. It's on ESPN Plus. The Dukes, much like the Bobcats, are a 10-point favorite. Shane, what do you see coming out of this game?
10 points seems like a lot. I mean, I expected JMU to be the favorite, but maybe more like a field goal than a 2-score game. So, yeah, it's a tough one. Georgia Southern, I really, as was pointed out, their 2 losses are to 2 really good teams. Ole Miss, Boise State. They're very competitive against Boise State in the season opener. I think it's going to be a tough one for JMU. I said it. I like the JMU's defense. I think they're going to keep them in basically every game they play, but they need this one, and it's not going to be easy down in Statesboro.
Yeah, Eagles backup quarterback Dexter Williams had 3 fourth-quarter touchdowns to get past Marshall at the very end there, which ruined Tibbs's bet. They're kind of saying that J.C. French is going to be back. I guess we'll see whether that happens. But Tibbs, are you putting another bet against the Eagles?
No, I will definitely take the Eagles in this game. I think that Statesboro is kind of like Monroe, right? I think that it's a place that's kind of difficult, kind of hard to get to, and it kind of takes its toll on teams. In addition to that, you have the Mystic Creek. You have the dual quarterback. You have Helton on fire. The fact that the Eagles learned how to win last week in that close game and never giving up against Marshall. I really do. I like the Eagles to soar in this game over James Madison.
Yeah, last time I picked an opponent to beat James Madison was Coastal Carolina. They made me look foolish. I think I'm going to stick with the Dukes on this. But man, I'm hearing everything you're saying, Tibbs. I feel like the Eagles are kind of, feeling it after that come from behind victory. Maybe James Madison may be also feeling it after getting out that high of coming off a big win after the disappointing loss. I think this is going to be one of the best games in the Sun Belt. This might be the O'Douls Maintain Your Edge Sun Belt Game of the Week. Last game of the night, guys. My Arkansas State Red Wolves, they're 3-3. They go down to Hattiesburg, visit Southern Miss Golden Eagles. They're 1-5. It's at 6 p.m. It's on ESPN Plus. The Red Wolves are just a 6.5-point favorite, which you would understand if you knew, like I do, that the Red Wolves have only scored 2 touchdowns in their last 3 games. Tibbs, is this game going to be sort of the get-well game for the Wolves, or is it a trap game?
I think the Red Hawks can go down to Hattiesburg and get the win. Southern Miss, they initially put up a good fight there, even last week against the Warhawks, but they just didn't have the fight. By the time the fourth quarter rolled around, they were done. They knew that this was going to be an L. They knew that the game was over. And I think you're going to see some of that roll over. You might get a little bit of excitement out of Southern Miss, knowing that it's their homecoming game. But there's just too much Red Hawks in this game with Jalen Rayner to overcome, and the visiting team is going to get the win.
Yeah, let's hope that those Red Ninjas manage to find some offense for this game. I did notice that in tonight's Monday night matchup that Buffalo has activated Southern Miss legend Frank Gore Jr. to be on the field, which is really cool. We saw him warming up early before the game. Shane, the Golden Eagles have a chance in this game to somehow, I don't know, get a feel-good win.
Not if Frank Gore's playing for another team.
I'm afraid he is.
They need him if they're going to have a chance. You asked it earlier. I think this is the get right game for the Red Pandas. I think Jalen Rayner kind of breaks out a little bit. I mean, we thought he had his breakout last year, but it's been a little bit underperforming so far this year. I'm thinking like a multi-touchdown game for him. Like reins in the interceptions. They take out a little frustration on Southern Miss.
Yeah, I think the Red Rockets have this. Seems like a frustration letting game for them. We'll have to see. You know, the I can't even think of more red mascots. The Red Dogs, the Red something, the Red Reds. I think will they do have problems on the road. That's well documented. I don't think they're going to have that much problem with Southern Miss, but you don't know. You just never know with this team. And guys, that's it. That's the end of Sunbelt Second and Short. And once again, you two knocked it out of the park. Thank you very much for participating. You both win participation trophies from me.
Yay.
Put it on your LinkedIn.
On that note, because the viewership has already waned off, let's go with plugs, promos, and parting shots. Shane, what do you have for us?
I have a question for you, Tibbs.
Okay.
I guess qualifies as a parting shot.
All right.
So I think I saw earlier this week, it was a national outlet of some sort, a national Twitter account of some sort, talking about the Warhawks and how great a start they're off to. But it referred to them as UL-Monroe. And the people were talking. The question was like, when will ULM take over? When will that become like the brand? My question for you, Tibbs, is why not switch gears and make Monroe the brand? Just go as Monroe. You're kind of sticking it to occasions a little bit where they don't want to have their city associated with it. You be the only Monroe I can think of. Like, it's cool name. It's a cool town. Like, what about using that as your brand after all the hubbub of like who gets to be Louisiana? Can you be Louisiana or you Lafayette? Like all of that. I kind of feel like right now it's the perfect time to seize all this attention and rebrand and just embrace that you're Monroe.
Yeah. Men's basketball put out a Monroe jersey as kind of like the NBA's city jersey last year, maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. It was a sharp black uniform with just Monroe across it. But apparently the fellow communal towns around Monroe didn't appreciate that they were being isolated as not a part of the university. So because of that, they went back to the classic ULM mantra to ensure that they were all inclusive of all of Northeast Louisiana.
You know, what Shane proposes is
why I asked.
What Shane proposes is not without precedent. UA Little Rock, for instance, was UALR forever. You know, they referred to themselves as UALR. And then in an effort to kind of separate themselves from the University of Arkansas system, they began to call themselves, you know, the city's team, you know, the Little Rock's team, right? And it's now branding themselves UA Little Rock. So, yeah, I could see, you know, UL Monroe being, you know, getting some Monroe pride. I did not anticipate, Tibbs, that the hamlets surrounding Monroe would be so taken aback by that.
Yeah, it is what it is. Whatever. I just wish that the whole style guide and agreed upon acronyms would actually be used instead of having ESPN go, we know that you're supposed to be called ULM, but nobody's going to know that brand, so we're just going to keep it at UL Monroe. And it's like, no one knows what the hell that is. Like, they get letters all the time of Louisiana Monroe University. That's a whole nother episode that we could have just on that.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what do you have?
All right, so another gripe that came out of the Texas State Arkansas State game. I hope the Bobcats don't think that I'm picking on them, but the venerated, the much ballyhooed Nick Saban made a statement before the games on Saturday talking about flopping in football. You know how it's not real. I don't really consider it a problem. I always find it kind of amusing, but there was one point at the Texas State Arkansas State game where anytime Arkansas State got a first down, suddenly there was a Bobcat on the field. And sometimes it was the same guy. I'm not going to say who it was. But, he would get up, go to the sideline, and be back in the game the next play. Now, this is a little nutty to have happen. And it was obvious that there was just some flopping going on. And nobody on Arkansas State was having these injuries. But Bobcats galore, every single first down that A-State would have. Oh, we got to stop the momentum here. Let's have an injury timeout. And it was just kind of bizarre and crazy. And I got to the point where I started agreeing with Nick Saban, who I don't always agree with. He's just not my favorite guy. But maybe there is something to this. We got to do something about this flopping that we're seeing in college football. It is unbecoming. It's unbecoming, Shane. And I'd like to see somebody put an end to it.
Nick Saban also talked about the ethics of the game on Saturday as well.
Yes.
My side hurt from laughing. Shane, it's not something that we get to see in the South, but the lights of the sky have been lighting up the East Coast. Is this something that you've had a chance to take in?
A little bit. It's been kind of hard to see. I've been in town, too many lights around. Like, it doesn't get quite dark enough, but I've gotten a glimpse of it.
Is it everything it was made out to be?
It can be pretty cool. I know there's too many stadium lights last Thursday to be seen around the stadium, but like out in the mountains and stuff, there was definitely purple lights that would have kind of matched the whole JMU vibe.
Oh, yeah. In Arkansas, it was.
This is his way of saying. This is his way of rubbing it in even more that God's a James Madison fan.
Yeah, I caught that too.